What are commonest two reasons of IVF failure which may not be explained to you before you start your IVF cycle? Number one, there is always a chance of having a genetically abnormal embryo. If you are young, that means you are less than 35 years, about 20 to 25% of your embryos could be genetically abnormal. And that could be one chance of failure that cannot be detected on the growth rate of an embryo or just looking at the embryo through a microscope. You have to do a trophoectoderm biopsy and a genetic testing to confirm that. But the science is very clear. Before the age of 35 years, if you are doing IVF, there is no need to do genetic testing because majority of your embryos are going to be good and the chance of pregnancy is there. But still, an IVF failure may take place if you transfer a genetically abnormal embryo. But as your age increases beyond 38 or beyond 40, if you're taking an IVF cycle, the commonest reason of failure is going to be genetically abnormal embryo because beyond 60% of the embryos are genetically abnormal when you're touching 38 years and more. So at Sunanda IVF and Jahangir IVF, we always like to test by doing PGTA or trophoectoderm biopsy, know the genetic status of an embryo and transfer it so that we can have a very high success rate. The second reason, once we transfer an embryo to the uterus, the embryo initiates a crosstalk between the embryo and the lining of the womb, what is called endometrium. And this crosstalk is very important. So the genes of an embryo has genetic material from the husband, while endometrium is only the genetic material of the wife or the mother. So how they interact with each other is very important. When they start interacting, initially the interaction is in the form of inflammation, or you can say redness in simple language. Later on, it goes into an adaptive immunity where the reaction is of adaptive immunity of Th2 in our fashion. So we prefer, in majority of our patients, to test the Th1 and Th2 ratios to understand if you are more inflamed so that you will reject the embryo, or you are under-inflamed so you can't accept an embryo, and we can correct them by medicines so that you can achieve a high success. So remember these two things, the genetic status of the embryo and the Th1-Th2 ratio of your endometrium. That is the key to success.